Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the May 13th, 2021 meeting of the Camden County Board of Education. I'd like to ask if there is any consideration of open session agenda changes.
Yes, sir. I'd request that you move action item H up to immediately following action item A, which is the new high school project. And then everything else would just continue as is.
Any other changes or additions to the agenda? Motion to accept the May 13th, 2021 agenda as amended. Motion by Mr. Idlet to accept the Camden County Board of Education May 13th, 2021 meeting agenda as amended. Seconded by Dr. Banks. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. If you please represent a moment of silence. Thank you. Dr. Farrell, has anyone signed up for public comment?
No, sir.
Everyone would please stand as I ask Ms. Fields to lead us in her last pledge of allegiance as a student board member.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a few board spotlights tonight, and I would like to start off by asking Ms. Fields to come join me. So we all know that Lizzie is our senior student board member. She began her position on September 12th, 2019, and tonight will be her last board meeting. It has certainly been a fast 2 years from the board standpoint, but during the 4 years that Lizzie has been here at the high school, she has been very involved with many activities and events other than serving as a student board member. Currently, she is the SGA Senior Class President, is a member of the National Honor Society, DECA, and Fellowship of Christian Athletes. She is a member of HOSA, the Drama Club, and is a Battle of the Books participant. In addition, she has been named Homecoming Princess and Prom Queen. Lizzie, it is obvious that you are a well-rounded young lady who has successfully navigated your high school years. Speaking from the board, we are of the opinion that your success will continue beyond Camden County High School, and we wish you much success both personally and professionally. Please accept this plaque as a token of our appreciation for your board service. And the plaque says, presented to Elizabeth Fields, in grateful appreciation of her service as student board member of the Camden County Board of Education, September 12th, 2019 through May 13th, 2021.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Smile. There you go. I'll mess it up.
You'll mess it up?
I'll go out clean. Thank you.
Thank you. So in February of this year, the Daily Advance began polling readers on who they thought were the best business and services in the Albemarle area. The results were published in the 2021 Best of the Albemarle edition on Thursday, April 29th. In that special edition, you will find that Camden Middle School's Nick Simmons was named the Daily Advance 2021 Best Teacher. So at this time, I would like to ask Mr. Nick Simmons to come join me. Mr. Simmons, on behalf of the Camden County Board of Education, I want to congratulate you on being named the Daily Advance Best Teacher in the Albemarle area. To have been selected for this honor by readers throughout the area must be extremely special. The Daily Advance shared that the Albemarle area is comprised of 5 counties, Pasquotank, Clemens, Camden, Chowan, and Currituck, so your teaching talents are obviously known and appreciated by many. Once again, congratulations on your well-deserved title. Thank you. We have this Best in the Albemarle from the Daily Advance. And then the board spotlight from the Board of Education also. Congratulations. Thank you, sir.
Thank
Any
you.
comments?
No, thank you.
So also tonight, the Camden County Board of Education would like to spotlight, if you'll please come join me, Glenna Markham, first grade teacher at Grandy Primary School, Shelley Green, fourth grade teacher at Camden Intermediate School, and Joshua Sawyer, our 7th through 12th grade math coach. All three of these staff members have received their National Board certification. National Board certification offered by the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards is a way to recognize the accomplished teaching that is occurring in North Carolina classrooms. This certification process is based on high and rigorous standards that evaluate teaching practice through performance-based assessments. The ultimate result is improved performance and achievement for North Carolina students. So Ms. Markham, Ms. Green, and Mr. Sawyer, on behalf of the Camden County Board of Education, congratulations. We have for you tonight your new nameplate for your desk
Thank you.
for each one of you. So very good. Thank you. Congratulations. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. This year is National School Nurse Day, and it was yesterday, May 12th, 2021. Camden County Schools is very fortunate to have a school nurse on all of our school campuses. All 4 of our nurses are National Board certified school nurses, and among them, they have a combined total of 45 years of school nursing experience and 95 years of total nursing experience. In Camden County Schools, we have had many heroes this past year, both recognized and unrecognized. Our school nurses are among those heroes. From the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, the nurses frequently met via Zoom to discuss the latest information they had and how they were going to address the concerns that began to arise. Over the summer, they designed isolation rooms, ordered personal protective equipment, and established protocols to ensure that our students and staff could return to the buildings under the safest possible conditions. They spent hours assessing our needs, developing plans for addressing the needs, and as information came available, they adjusted their plans to continue to provide the best possible care for all our students and employees. Once vaccines arrived, they assisted with getting the information out to staff members, organized clinics, and volunteered in those clinics. Each year, our nurses provide exceptional care for the many needs of our students. They maintain meticulous records and exhibit the utmost professionalism. However, beyond their professional demeanor, it is the enduring compassion and commitment to the well-being of every child that sets them apart. It has been their knowledge and leadership that has brought us safely thus far through these uncertain times. Please accept our heartfelt appreciation for all that you do for Camden County Schools family. If I could ask our school nurses to please join us up front. So we have a little token of our appreciation for each one of you, a small plaque. With our deepest appreciation, the Camden County Board of Education recognizes, in this case, Ms. Kimberly Hollingsworth, for your compassion and commitment to the students and staff of Camden County Schools this May 13th, 2021.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Jean Sawyer, thank you. Ms. Laura Berry, thank you. And Ms. Kelly Scott,
Thank you.
thank you.
Can I get a picture of y'all, please? Mr. Evans, do you want to get in there?
Oh,
Got it, thank you.
And now the Board of Education would like to honor our 2021-22 County Teacher of the Year, Ms. Jennifer Lilly. So Ms. Lilly is an exceptional children's teacher at Camden Early College and has been in education for the past 17 years. She assists students with their high school classes and also assists them with their transition to the local community college. Ms. Lilly has been characterized by coworkers as a teacher who will work no matter the time of day to ensure that her school and students are taken care of. Ms. Lilly, on behalf of the Camden County Board of Education, congratulations. We have this plaque for you. For the Camden County Teacher of the Year, 2021 through 22, Jennifer Lilly. Thank you. Congratulations. Open session to appear.
No one has requested to appear.
Consent agenda. Motion by Ms. Abbott to approve the consent agenda. Seconded by Mr. Purcell. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Information updates. APES presentation. Jennifer Glass, Camden County High School science teacher.
First, we would like to thank you, especially a big thank you to Ms. Davis and Dr. Farrell for allowing us the time to present this, our AP project. Okay, so first we have a quote by Dr. Seuss. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not.
Okay, so what is stormwater? Stormwater is standing water that is produced after a heavy rainfall and snowfall. Stormwater runoff is produced from snowmelt and rain events that flow over impervious surfaces and does not get absorbed into the ground. These impervious surfaces can be parking lots, paved streets, building rooftops, etc. The stormwater runoff can pick up and carry pollutants like chemicals, trash, sediments, and oil that can harm streams, rivers, lakes, and our coastal waters, and etc.
To build off of what Kush said, pervious surfaces are, again, bare soil, vegetation, and usually natural surfaces. This can include gravel as well. This is a pervious surface is a surface that water flows through freely, and this is the best for water quality. So instead of picking up our chemicals on an impervious surface in our waste, it keeps it from going into our ditches and eventually our waterways. Some solutions to parking lots, but pervious parking lots, would be pervious concrete. Some of these are seen at the beach. You probably recognize these from the beach because it also helps with erosion. But in this case, it's great for water quality as well.
Adopt a Drain. Adopt a Drain is a study we participated in conducted by NC State to find the number of excess debris and non-biodegradable material that ends up in drains and ditches. We did our tests from the ditch behind the back parking lot, or in between the bus parking lot and the school parking lot, and the ditch next to the train tracks on the other side.
So what is marine debris, you may ask? It includes cigarette butts, food wrappers, plastic beverage bottles, bottle caps, plastic straws, plastic bags, beverage cans, paper material, and microplastics. The trash that we found included plastic bottle tops, masks, food wrappers, plastic straws, cigarette butts, styrofoam, and paper waste. So the data that we collected shows that out of all the trash, or out of all the debris that we found, cigarettes, food wrappers, plastic pieces, and other were the most common. This is a visual diagram of the test strips that we used when we were testing for pesticides. As you can see, with the negative test strip, it was it was more colorful than the other two, and as pesticides increased in the water, it would eventually decrease in color as well. Just to show the water that we tested, these are the sources that we collected, stormwater and drain water as well. Luckily, they were mainly negative or very low.
but they vary depending on how close they were to the road.
Okay, some negative impacts on marine debris. The negative impacts that marine debris have on water sources throughout the world are tremendous. Some of these impacts include marine debris can kill and injure marine and coastal organisms. It can threaten human safety and health, can reduce the water quality in water sources, and etc.
And just to point out these pictures, these are microplastics. They end up, once a plastic breaks down, it never fully decomposes, so it gets smaller and smaller, and it can build up in our food chain and eventually end up in the diets of humans.
All right, next we have a short National Geographic video, Are Microplastics Becoming a Macro Problem?
Can we hit play over there? Thank you. Tech help. Do we have volume?
Hit the power on that,
This one?
soundboard. On this
Oh,
one here.
okay. Disclaimer, it worked when we were practicing.
And as the time of year is when the issue increases, literally, our website, coral reefs, rinse it all out, filter it, and then another in there, and then edit it to the job.
If you guys want to skip this, you can. It's kind of hard to hear, but just to sum up what the video was saying.
What are the
There we go.
implications of trash going into the water, getting into the food we harvest? And we're still connecting the dots there a bit. We know that lots of trash goes out into the water. We know that the sun and waves breaks it down into small pieces. We know that many species of animals eat it. And we also know that bigger animals eat smaller animals. And we also know that we eat those big trophy fish. And so what we're really trying to figure out is how big a vector plastic is for transporting chemicals into the tissues of the animals that we eat every day. That's a big problem, much bigger than big chunks floating out into the ocean.
We don't know exactly what that plastic is. We don't know where exactly it's coming from. And if we're trying to find policy and educational solutions to it, we need to know what we're targeting. We can't just ban plastic. That's not going to work. What kind of plastic is it, and what's the best policy route to reduce it? Is it a ban? Is it a fee? Is it market change? Is it education and behavior change work? What's the best way to tackle it? And until we know exactly what we're dealing with, we're not going to be able to design the right programs to address it.
That face that is usually covered by
Okay, there we go.
All right, Athena Bradley says, schools have an obligation to look at waste as an expenditure that can be reduced. Waste reduction and reuse can save schools money. Adding recycling into the mix, along with right-sizing school dumpsters and collection frequency, can result in substantial cost savings for schools.
So this is our current recycling system, and ways we can improve this is by having different recycling bins for paper, aluminum, plastic inside our hallways and classrooms even, to make it even more effective, and making sure that the recycling doesn't just end up in the regular trash bin. And some more solutions to build off of what Emily said would be, again, these plastic containers, the glass containers and paper options. We can also implement more water like refillable stations on every hallway. Those are just by the bathrooms currently, but it'll be a way to keep plastic water bottles, something that was commonly found in the ditches, out of those ditches. When we were putting our heads together about how our recycling system was not the most effective, we came to a conclusion that when most of us were in Grandy Primary School, we had these reusable lunch trays that lunch and breakfast were served on. Right now, the high school has mainly styrofoam and plastic trays, which is one of the leading waste products that were found in our ditches as well. And if we wanted to keep something that was disposable, we could use bioplastics. They biodegrade in the environment, unlike regular plastics. And this picture is a little difficult to see, but another option when we were thinking about the new school, these are drain socks. They go on the drain. So instead of the bigger pieces of plastic, the bigger pieces of waste entering our waterways through our ditches, they will be collected in this net. And thank you. We can take any questions if any of you guys have any at this time.
That was great. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
The pens are 74% recycled plastic. To keep something on your desk when you're thinking about.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. We have school highlights from Benita Robinson, principal at Camden Intermediate School, and LeVar Mazel, principal at Camden Middle School.
Good evening. Facing a pandemic meshed with economic problems, social justice issues, rapid technology change, and now a gas shortage, to say the last 14 months have been disruptive to education is an understatement. However, the resilience of educators, students, and families proves that we can overcome almost anything when we do it together. How we started the 2021 school year is not how we're going to end it. Daily, we are challenged with solving complex problems, but we find ourselves in this new space of shared hope and vision, in between finding solutions to unsettled matters. Tonight, I am here to highlight Camden Intermediate School. Before I begin, I would like to thank Dr. Farrell and his cabinet for consistently standing in the gap for us. I would like to thank the Board of Education for its resolve in being a voice of reason and for your unwavering support. Finally, I would like to thank my teachers and my staff for being tough, for having the capacity to spring back from multifaceted challenges quickly. Thank you all so very much. This is in our early days of professional development, and after the session, our teachers are being competitive in a game of Simon Says. We were able to do our annual fundraiser, but we had to do a virtual dance party instead because of COVID, and the students were still able to raise over $6,000. On September 15th, we welcome back a small but very important population of our students. October 5th through 8th, we had our open house, which proved to be very successful. Keep going. This is our 5th grade reading class doing a text hunt. 4th grade science. Our 6th graders did a mock election, and you can see Uncle Bernie showed up to help us with parent pickups. This is an owl pellet discovery thing. Do you guys know about owl pellets? Yeah, it's pretty gross, but the kids love it. That was 5th grade science making slime. That's a guidance lesson in our AIG class. And then this is a egg drop where students created devices to save their eggs from breaking. Together Tuesdays was something that we created new this year, and it was an opportunity for our school family to have a little fun while also establishing some traditions of our own. And this was done in efforts to support unity. So we had a green out day. We had party on the bottom and business on the top. We had camo / military appreciation day. This was just a thank you to our teachers for keeping us afloat. We celebrated our staff. This was Love the Bus, our school counseling week. We celebrated our social worker, our professional office staff, our nurse, and of course, Rachel Joyner, our teacher of the year. In December, we had our first annual reindeer games, and this was a competition between grade levels. And there they are being competitive. And this is me crowning the victors, our 6th grade team. We celebrated Kaylee Rios in February, I think it was. And we had this beautiful bench donated, and it's on our campus behind our school in between 5th and 6th grade, because that's where Kaylee was transitioning between 5th and 6th grade. And Mrs. Winecoop created these shuttle boxes herself. She made these by hand, which is beautiful. And then it felt like spring break was never, ever going to get here. Teacher Appreciation Week turned out fabulous. And then this past Tuesday, we celebrated our last Together Tuesday, and it was a Disney day. And then we also incorporated Students of the Month, and April celebrate those who show responsibility. And this is Camden Intermediate School Year in Review. Are there any questions? All right, thank you very much.
evening, everyone. How's
Good
everybody
evening.
doing? Good, good. And so we share the same sentiments as Ms. Robinson stated. Thank you all so much for your support. Indeed, this has been a unique year for our staff and our students and for everybody. We actually opened school 3 times this year. One remote, Plan B, and then Plan C. But we are excited to be back, and we've been successful. We're happy to have the kids back, and we're looking forward to a great close to the year. And so we're just going to share a little bit of highlights from this year. Um, and so we welcome our kids back on October 19th. And with that, let me back up. While we were in remote learning, we started something new this year called the Breakfast Club, that was led by myself. And every morning, even when we were remote, we asked all the kids to meet me virtually by Zoom at 8 o'clock in the morning so we can do a normal routine by giving the announcements and going with the Pledge of Allegiance every day, so we keep some type of normalcy going on. And then when the kids came back in Plan B, we continued the same thing. While A was in class, we had the teachers to Zoom in with me, while the remote kids at home Zoom in, and we did the same thing. And so with that, this is what Plan B looked like. We had Miss Russell out there in the buses taking temperatures. We had breakfast in the main lobby where Miss Young and Miss Trish gave out free breakfast every morning for kids that wanted it. Um, we had this taking temperatures outside in the front lobby, which was amazing. My staff did an amazing job planning the whole Plan B interaction with students. And then you kind of see us 6 feet apart. You see Miss Sharon down there on the bike. And so with the guys trying to help her out, you see the look on her face. So there's never a dull moment with Miss Sharon around. And Miss Lee was very creative with band, where she had band class outside. This is just some other things at the Nation where you see students working. You see Chase over there working as well. And this is some of the remote students sending messages to Miss Morrison. We have a phenomenal art teacher, Miss Linehan. This is just some of the work that she and the students have done, and they posted this in the building. You see pop art. You see those statues. They're made out of wire hangers and pantyhose and paint. And she has put them in the trophy case in the front office, in the front hall, to showcase our student work. Self-made portraits, and they all have masks on to commemorate this year. And this is some of the remote learners artwork. So she was also posting assignments for those kids to create and send in to her. So we go into Christmas, and so we had a holiday spirit week. And so we had the kids to dress up in their holiday attire. We had Miss Morrison dress up like a present. She came in that day with that box around her, and it was amazing. So we had a great time celebrating the holidays. And our Cub Nation Cub Council posted positive message to all of our students in the hallway. So whenever we saw stuff getting down, we just read that message and to lighten the mood of the building. Band, there's just some band pictures. You see they wearing their masks, and they were playing holiday music. And when the May the 4th be with you, May 4th, they were playing the Star Wars theme song. And so we're very proud of our band, and their concert's coming up next week on the 18th at COA at 7 o'clock. We had our FFA to enter into their competition, and our team won first place in Exploring Biotechnology, CDE, of the competition. Junior Beta Club had 3 young ladies to place in our Junior Beta Club competition. They were able to compete in our state competition as well, where they won in the 2-dimension and 3-dimension. They placed in those categories. You can see their 3D model and their 2D model. And also Beta Club is the sponsor of our Beta Buddies, where they meet with students on every Wednesday at 12 o'clock, having virtual lunch with students. They invite students to have lunch with them. So our athletic season started out backwards. We started with track, baseball, softball, then went to basketball, and then ended with football, volleyball, soccer, and cheerleading. And so these are just a couple of pictures of some of the events. We had a great season, great seasons. And now here's plan A, when everyone is back. And we have teachers being creative and taking kids outside for class. And all of our kids were happy to be back in school, and we were happy to have them all back. And you see Miss Sharon, she keeps popping up in these videos, in these slides. So Miss Sharon is a very big part of our community. And so we thank her for everything that she does. And you just see the kids working. And this is Spirit Week, what we had on April 19th through April 23rd. I even had a twin that day. We didn't plan it, but we just had a twin day on Maui Monday. And also our new counselor, Miss Perry and Officer Copeland, they dressed as twins. So instead of one SRO, we had two SROs on the campus that day. And you can see that all the other students dressed out in the events of the week. And this is the end. It was Teacher Appreciation Week, and we had this out in the front, and we surprised our teachers with this sign as they drove up. I even surprised myself because I forgot that I did it. And so I was like, hey, look good. And so we had them to come out and take a picture just to commemorate this year. And so I'll leave you with this. We have some new additions to the Cub Nation families that I was introduced to this morning. Miss Forbes and her class, the eggs hatched this morning. And so we have 16 chicks in the building. And one is a naked neck chick. It's the first time I've heard of it, but they were resting this morning. I forgot to get a picture of them, but they're resting. And so hopefully we'll see them up and about tomorrow. And so thank you so much for all your support this year. It has been a unique year, but we made it. And we're happy to have you part of our family. If there are any questions. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Summer school planning update. Angel Lasher, Chief Academic Officer.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for giving me time to give you an update on our summer learning program. I submitted the plan on Monday and it was approved Tuesday of this week. And so moving forward, this is just kind of an overview of what we're going to do. We're going to have two sites, a K-6 site, which will be located at Grandy Primary School, and it will be led by Lisa Byram and Sean Lynham. And then our grades 7 through 12 will be at Camden County High School, and it will be led by Mrs. Marion Russell and Mr. Michael Reeves. Our dates will be June 14th through August 6th, Monday through Thursday. There'll be no school on Fridays, and there will be no school, of course, for the July 5th, for our July 4th holiday recognized on July 5th. Our schedule will run for our staff. We'll work 7:30 to 1:30 with an hour planning on site. Students will arrive between 7:45 and 8 and leave at 12:30, and our bus driver hours are there as well. We will have a grab and go breakfast as well as a grab and go lunch for them as they head out the door on their way home. If you take a look at the student enrollment and staff, the criteria was for students at risk of academic failure. And so when we did our first round of interest, we'll say, to parents for those students who were at risk, we invited 437 K-8 students. We did not invite or ask for interest at the high school level at that time because we were waiting to see where students were going to end up with their classes. It's a little bit different with that group of students. So out of 437, since then, several kids have met their benchmarks and gotten where they needed to be. And so overall, we will be inviting a total of 389 students K-12 to our summer learning program. And then you can see there the number of students at each school. Again, that doesn't mean that's how many will come, but that's how many we are going to invite to participate. So based upon the numbers, most schools are either sending home this week or early next week. And so we should have numbers of how many are coming, hopefully by the end of next week, which will help us then determine the number of teachers we're going to need teachers' assistants, and so forth. At this time, we've had about 35 staff members express interest. We have given them the option of working the total 8 weeks or being able to sign up for a 4-week session and a 4-week session. So if you just look through the rest of, again, 2 pickup sites like we've done in the past for summer reading camp, we'll have a south site and a north site. And again, the number of buses we need will depend on the number of students we have attending. The high school is mainly going to focus on reading recovery. That's how I've been in elementary for a long time. Credit recovery, as well as EOC courses. And so the bottom section 3 just kind of gives an overview of the proposed schedule that I included in our plan. But once I turned it over to our assistant principals, I told them that they can tweak the schedule how they wish, but that the requirements have to be part of it. So just wanted to give you an update on where we are. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Camden County High School and Camden Early College High School graduation updates. Amber Davis and Gwen Stevens.
Okay, well, at Camden Early College, our graduation is set for May the 29th at 10:00 a.m. out on the football field. Each student will receive 10 tickets. And our practice is May the 26th. Do you have any questions? We have approximately 40 students. Got a few sitting on the fence. That's about where we are. Any questions?
Any pushback, kickback from the parents about the 10 tickets? Everybody's.
I have not one phone call. And they're good for if we have to move
Right,
it inside.
Your size, you can go either way.
They can go either way. The 10 tickets will work for both.
So we have 93 graduates at the high school. 17 of those were early graduates. I sent out a Google Form survey about 2.5 weeks ago asking if they want to participate in the traditional ceremony or in an individual ceremony, because we did talk about having to include one of those. We do have a couple of students with some special cases. We had 67 responses, which is actually really good considering I just sent it out to seniors who are done checking email and things like that for us right now. So we're going to call the rest of them this week to make sure we know. But we have 8 who have requested individual ceremonies. So those will be on Saturday morning. We'll run those 8, and then we'll have the traditional ceremony on June 4th at 7 p.m. on the football field because it's not going to rain. Okay, I've rented 400 chairs to put on the football field. They get 10 tickets. So we're going to kind of space them out and put more people on the football field than we normally do to keep people from crowding into the stands. We're working on getting everything done, pressure washing the bleachers, spraying for wasps, getting all that fun stuff done. So it's coming together. I'm ready. Any questions? And I haven't had any kickback on 10 tickets either. Most of them seem really happy. There is some talk about June 1st, mass gathering limits being lifted. So we might get lucky and, be able to lift that if it's outside. So fingers crossed for that. And then if it's inside, it will be a limit to nobody 4 or 5, but that would happen no matter what with the rain, if it rained.
Thank you. Thank you. Student board member update.
For Green Primary School, last week GPS celebrated Teacher Appreciation Week and Nurses Day. The staff really enjoyed the food and fun activities that were planned, and GPS would like to thank all of the businesses that gave donations to help celebrate and reward our staff for a job well done. We love our GPS staff. The GPS Fun Run was held today, and it was a huge success. The goal was $25,000, and GPS has raised over $40,000. GPS is really excited to purchase new playground equipment for kindergarten. The goal is to have the project complete before the next school year starts. GPS would like to thank everyone who played a role in making the Fun Run a huge success. Because the school met their goal of $25,000, every student will have the chance to dunk Mr. Lazar on June 3rd.
Because GPS hit $40,000, each classroom will get one automatic dunk. Mr. Lazar is very excited to get dunked because it is a reminder of how much support the school receives from the community and GPS family. Last year's drive-through celebrations were a huge success that GPS will be having once again. Wednesday, May 26th will be kindergarten from 8 to 10 and first grade from 11 to 1, while Wednesday, May 2nd, second grade will be 8 to 10 and I'm guessing, okay, third grade 11 to 1, sorry. For Camden Intermediate School, we had a phenomenal Teacher Appreciation Week, modified fifth grade field day, May 11th. We celebrated Nurses Day, Wednesday, May 26th, modified sixth grade field day, May 27th. I'm sorry, it's a little confusing to read. Sixth grade band concert, 6:30 on May 25th. Our EOG assessments start Monday, May 24th, end of year celebrations, the sixth grade, June 1st, fourth and fifth grade, end of year, June 3rd. I'm sorry. That's a little hard to read, I apologize.
You're doing fine.
Camden Middle School transition to middle school. CMS administrators and school counselors met with sixth grade students virtually this week as part of their transition to middle school process. It was a great success and the sixth grade students are excited about coming to Cub Nation. For the CMS band concert, Mrs. Lee and the CMS band students are preparing for the concert to be held on May 18th at 7 o'clock at the COA auditorium. CMS students have been working hard through having class remotely. Our CMS Teacher of the Year, Colleen Liston, was featured as the Excellent Educator segment on Wavy TV 10 Tuesday morning and represented CMS and Camden County Schools well. We are so proud of Ms. Liston for leading in profession and also facilitating learning for her students during this unique year. For Camden Early College High School, CECHS celebrated Teacher Appreciation Week May 3rd through the 7th. A big thanks to PAL for taking care of our staff and teachers. CECHS had a senior sign my t-shirt day and pizza party last Wednesday, May 5th, with great senior participation. Pictures were posted on Facebook for all of the above events, and CECHS posted our underclassmen awards via YouTube on Wednesday, May 12th. Okay. CECHS spring testing dates are May 20th through May 26th. The CECHS graduation will be May 29th at 10 a.m. at the CCHS football stadium. CCHS and CECHS had a senior parade and cookout last Saturday, May 8th. Awesome day. Camden County High School. Our women's soccer finished their season with a win over Perquimans. Track has had 2 meets so far and baseball season has started. Our Lady Bruins are the 1A East Regional Champions and play in the state championship this weekend. CCHS hosted the conference cheer competition and had the senior parade and senior cookout, and then won the third round of state playoff game in softball all in one day last Saturday. Yearbooks will be distributed on May 18th and May 19th. There will be a baccalaureate service hosted by our local churches on May 23rd at 4 p.m. in the CCHS gymnasium. AP testing begins next week, and then our exams begin on May 27th. Our athletic awards are May 20th at 6 p.m. JLP awards are May 24th at 6 p.m. Senior recognition night is May 26th at 6 p.m. And we will release the underclassmen awards virtually the week of May 24th. Finally, our graduation practice is on June 2nd, and the graduation is on June 4th.
Thank you. Your monthly financial update was provided in your pack. Does anybody have any questions? New high school project, Rick Ott and Ashley Dennis.
Actually getting her clicker. Want to thank everybody for the great groundbreaking. Yesterday, I was hoping the young folks would stay that had that water quality issue, because I wanted to tell them a little bit about the recycling and the stormwater plan that we'll have for the new high school. And of course, as we get into construction, we fully intend on having that integrated into the high school curriculum here as well. So we'll have a lot of them visiting on site. But we're here tonight to talk a little bit about the elevations and the look of the new high school. I'm going to turn it over to Ashley and let her talk about it a little bit.
So we just wanted to have this up here because this was a great day yesterday, and Rick and I, these things are the best part of what we do. Getting to see kids get excited, and I guarantee this will be something that they remember forever.
Class of 31's up there.
So this is just to remind you of the schematic plan. We're going to talk more about the 3D and the elevations. I'm going to start kind of at the front of the school. This is the elevation that will face the road, and then we'll kind of work our way around the building. I'm not going to fly around the building. I don't need technology to fail me. So this will just be some steel shots around the building to give a sense of where we're going with the elevations and get any feedback. So kind of starting, again, this is a really sketchy program. It's actually called SketchUp, so it's very cartoony. As we get further into it, you'll start seeing more detail, but this just gives you a sense of where we're going architecturally. So again, this is that front elevation. We're trying to keep a very traditional architecture with most of the building, and then have some modern elements brought into spaces like the front entry there. Again, this is going to be the main entry for any visitors. We wanted to have some really prominent signage along the street front, and you'll see this box piece kind of over to the left-hand side there. That is an element that kind of pulls through the building. That is where the main extended instructional areas are. So that kind of draws your eye there to, kind of wonder what's inside the building. We also need that higher ceiling height in there. So we need a higher volume for that space. Then kind of moving around the building, this is our south elevation. So this is the elevation that faces the bus lot. And the entry for the bus riders is actually right in the kind of connector piece from the classroom wing to the athletic area. Then moving around, this is the main entrance for the students and the entrance into that common space and the cafeteria. So kind of playing double duty for that area. We wanted to have a lot of natural light coming in there with some glazing, since that will be a space that functions not only as the common space, the cafeteria, but also pre-function space for the gymnasium and the auditorium when it's eventually built. You can also see that mass that kind of gets pulled through there for the extended instructional areas. And you'll also start noticing the roll-up doors for the CTE labs as we move around to the more STEM-focused elevations. This is the north elevation, so kind of faces up towards some of the student parking, and it's the ends of the classroom wings. I kind of went to the upper portion of this to start showing that courtyard space that we talked about. And then also that we'll have that connector piece have covered area for any of the lab spaces, but from those extended instructional areas, having an outdoor space that they can work under and walk through. So you can see here that canopy, so you can change classes, and there is not anything shown right now. We're still working through what the fencing would look like here or how we would secure this. I know that's something we've talked through a lot during various meetings, but in this area, we intend to secure that area, but also allow forklifts, and smaller trucks to be able to pass through there. So what that looks like will come along with the detailing of the project. I mentioned this earlier, but this is the bus rider entrance. We will have a canopy so that students, when they're unloading and loading onto the buses, can walk from the building to the bus under cover. Again, as we get further into the details, we'll start establishing what that looks like. But you can also see we're wanting to have some glazing on the media center. And some of these things will start adjusting as we start having more detailed meetings with staff. We've already had a meeting with the cafeteria, so some of the area around the loading dock has already started to change past what you're seeing in these elevations and massings. And then the front entry piece here. And I had received some questions about what the screening would be. So our idea there is really trying to keep the elevation simple. We'll start working through what some of how much glazing occurs in the elevation where the brick and the metal panel is. But that screening, these are just some examples of what those look like. These are not our projects, but this is actually from Elizabeth City State University. That's their STEM building. So that's an example of a use of that. And then I assume this is from a university. I'm not sure which one, but it shows you how the signage can be installed on something like that. So this is a durable material, can be used in commercial applications and will hold up. Is there any questions? Comments?
Let me add just a couple thoughts. Obviously, building an economic facility is something that's first and foremost in our mind, and we're in very trying construction market these days. And so we want to make sure that whatever we construct is simple, it's efficient, it'll last for a very long time with low maintenance. And so we're looking for materials that are local as much as possible and also very durable. And so I think Ashley's really done a good job kind of hitting that right bit of tradition for Camden County, but also having that modern aspect, because this building will take us through the next 75 years in this county. As we talked earlier, we do have room for growth and expansion in the facility. It will for surely grow. And so we would like to go ahead and proceed with design development phase. I'd like to get the approval of the board tonight. If you have modifications, we'd like to hear that. If not, we'd like to go ahead and kind of continue on with the project so we can get some construction moving.
Any questions, comments, or presentation?
We discussed, I think it was with our individual meetings, or maybe Kevin and I with y'all, but yeah, the difference in going with a structure like you've got designed here versus using some pre-engineered elements, like say for the gymnasium. I know it would change the look of your design, but cost difference wise, what cost benefit, what are we looking at with that?
We're doing those analysis right now.
Okay.
And ultimately, if we find something that's more economical, we'll be back to you to let you know that. Our intent is to bring the design development, the completed documents back to the board for approval before Ashley and her engineers move into the construction document phase. As part of what the design development phase is, we're doing a lot of cost analysis and looking at that. The other thing right now is materials that we can get. Hopefully the market will kind of sort itself out in the next couple of months. But right now it is a very tumultuous construction market, and the lead time on a lot of steel, joists, pre-engineered structure, that sort of thing is as much as 10 months to 12 months. So it's very interesting times to be designing and building a high school as well as being the owner of a new high school.
Could you go back to the covered walkway on the side of the building?
That one?
Yep. Is it feasible, instead of using fencing, if you were to look at the other angle of the building, the front of the building, where you got the large squared end, to mirror that look there and have roll-up doors inside and out so that you could have a continuous interior walkway?
That's a good question. There are some code issues that we are having to try to kind of work around. We're looking at that. Part of that's covering through, but the other thing we want to be able to do is get equipment in and out of those extended learning centers.
That's what I was wondering, if you use that square, high raised ceiling level, and had high roll-up doors where you could get a 18-wheeler technically through there.
Well, I don't know if we're gonna get an 18-wheeler, but maybe a boat or a fire
Yeah.
truck or something like
Well,
that.
fire truck, whatever.
Right. We are looking at a lot of different options. One of the things that frankly we're considering is moving this fencing out here to pick up fencing along this area here, not just enclosing the courtyard. And again, there's some fire code issues that we need to kind of work through. So we're looking at all those aspects. I want to make that as functional as possible. I really think that courtyard, that outdoor courtyard is going to be a real asset to the school and an area where you can get out there in good days and just do a lot of very fun things and instructional things there. We're right now focused on the building and not so much on the actual site part itself, other than the grading and storm drainage and that sort of thing.
Could you speak some to the roof line? Because
So
Yeah,
this
so
one
like the
probably is the
large
best one to talk
expanses.
about it. So in every area that we could have sloped roofs, that it made sense, we had those. In the larger volumes is where you'll start seeing the low slope roofs. They might be called flat roofs, but they are not flat. So you'll see that at the media center and then in the gymnasium area to the rear. Every time we change a roof height, so if we drop the media just a little bit because maybe we didn't need that volume, it starts costing money, and it's another point where a roof can leak. So trying to keep that volume all at the same height is the best decision for constructability and for the roof not having those weak points. Same thing with that connector bar. That space needs to be a higher volume. So we want to have that low slope there so that we're not having to build even higher, because as we try to pitch a roof, we have to build more building to get that to pitch so that we have the right ceiling height or volume within the space. So you can imagine, since that's the volume you need for the gymnasium, if we tried to do a high pitch on that, you would have a lot more to get the pitch that you need on a higher pitch or a metal roof. So we tried to provide metal where we could, and then tried to make the most economical and constructability choices for the low slope roofs.
I want to point out one of the issues about the structural materials is this is going to be a post-event emergency shelter. So we do have some higher wind loads than we would typically have at a school. So the structural engineers are looking at all that. Pre-engineered frame buildings are great buildings, but we're looking at the diaphragm, the wind loads. It really comes to how big an area that is. A lot of that really, is in the purview of the structural engineers right now.
For like the corridor, for example, it seems like you could, the right side, raise that section of the roof just a couple of feet and pitch it all away from the courtyard. That would get your drainage off of that completely away from the courtyard and give you a non-flat roof, I guess it seems
All
like.
that's going to be piped underground.
I mean, I'm just saying the roof itself, but I understand that, but I mean, it gets away from the flat roof construction too. By only raising one side,
Well, as much of this that we can get sloped this way and draining down on this side we are, because ultimately all of the water on this site wants to come down to, if you remember the site plan that we had, we wanted to get it down to this detention pond over here. Any water that comes off of this is going to be piped and underneath and go over. So we are looking at all that, and you will see all of that in the design development documents that we'll be coming back to you with in another month or so.
pitch it the other way. Then I guess if you want to dump all the water in the courtyard.
Well, we don't want to pitch it back this way and then put it in pipes and go out. We want to pitch it towards where the water ultimately needs to go.
It just seems like it'd be easy to pitch it one way or the other way. You can get away at least from the flat on the corridor by raising one side or the other. I thought you would.
What's the pitch gonna be on the low slope, right? I know what you're talking, I got a couple of buildings that have that. It's not a flat, it's called a flat roof, but it drains down to a collection trench basically that takes it out a gutter down the front of the building and out into the street. What kind of pitch are you talking for these low slope roofs?
Generally, it's at least a quarter of an inch per foot. It may end up being a little bit more than that. Ultimately, it's going to depend on the diaphragm of the structural pieces that we put in there. And again, we really are having to concern ourselves with the availability of the structural materials that we're using. I could go through and relate a lot of the conversations I've had with steel fabricators in the last 3 weeks. It would not surprise you to know that the steel industry is just in upheaval right now. Two of the largest steel fabricators in the nation are not taking any orders. They're at capacity. You may not know, but Jeff Bezos, his company has bought up over 30% of all the steel fabrication companies in the United States. And he's slowly building a monopoly on steel. That's part of the problem. That's increased prices. And so we're having to work through a lot of those kind of issues. So I'd like to tell you, we have those answers right now, but we're working on them. And that's all part of the, making sure we have a project within the budget.
What's the width of that quarter roof? Rough guess. I know you don't know exactly right now, but the continuous one that's going to be the extended learning area, 20 feet?
No, it's much
I think
more.
it's more like 60 feet.
Okay.
Maybe
So
it's maybe 40.
quarter inch over a foot, and it's going to be a significant slope from one side to the other. It's a low slope, but we're not talking about a half an inch over this entirely. It's going to be a noticeable drainable.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. There's not going to be any ponding water. There'll be crickets in all of the areas. There'll be a lot of areas that will be sloped. There's not going to be any ponding water on this site. Ashley has roof consultants within her company. We also have roof consultants that are on the project during the actual roofing itself. And so there'll be no, this can be a high quality roof. I will tell you, having built literally thousands of schools, a lot of them in coastal areas, we're very concerned about slope roofs and hurricanes and wind driven rains and things like that. How the diaphragm of those roofs works. And so all of those kind of factors are being taken into account to make sure that your post-event emergency shelter doesn't get blown away when a hurricane comes. So that's kind of first and foremost in our mind. But a lot of those kind of questions you will see when we bring the design development documents back to you.
What are you looking for, like tonight? You said you want to approve. I mean, you want to say that's the look we want, it's good, or just you're in the right ballpark, continue on?
We're in the right ballpark and we want to continue on. As Ashley said, what you're seeing here is a depiction of what it would look like. I can tell you that, every time we look at it, we're making some small modifications. As Ashley starts filling it in, there will be some additional small modifications. But, if you want a whole different look, then we need to know it. We don't need to proceed ahead in design development. But what you will see, kind of the final look at the end of design development, is going to be slightly different than what you see tonight. But we want to make sure that we're on the right rabbit trail.
Right. You don't want stucco, you're not going to change it up on to a totally different material. This is cartoony, and I hate to say that, but I mean, it is, because as we start having more and more meetings, things will adjust. This doesn't depict windows in the way that the windows actually will be. They have just lines for mullions. So you'll start seeing more and more of that and be able to react to more. But if you wanted to, fully change materials or style or something like that, that's something that we would need to know now. And we can still look at some of the elements that we haven't fully defined, but you guys had comments and questions about.
Could you go back to one of the pictures of the front of the school?
That one, or do you want the
That,
whole
that
thing?
one's fine.
Okay.
That one's fine. So when I look at that, my depiction is we have Camden County High School, and then we have that other school that I can't see the name of right there.
Right.
I know it's one building, we're gonna be housing two high schools in there, but it's gonna be two high schools.
Mhm.
Is there any way we can make it two high schools, to students, staff, and community coming to the front?
So that's something, and I know we talked about it a little bit in some of our other meetings about how we kind of emphasize both, with also not making it confusing to making wayfinding easy for visitors that are coming to one building that is two entities. So we'll look at this further. We'll come back with things. I mean, signage is one of those things we can play with kind of into the last hour. So, I know that the signage is smaller for early college. I think we need to play with the size of that signage. It gets wordy because it's really long. And so, that might be a question that we come back with is, does that really need to say the whole name, or which words are important, what can we abbreviate, those kind of things as we start playing with that. I think we've even come up with a few options that have already may have been a little bit too much, and so we'll definitely keep addressing that. But I think that we currently have the two entrances. I know another thing that we discussed was, how do we enter the school? So that might be something that influences how the signage looks on the outside as we move further into design as well. But any information you guys could provide us too would also help with some of as we bring back options of, how that signage looks.
I think the key, Ashley said, is that we have some time on that. And frankly, a couple days ago, I thought, you got a lot of really bright kids here at this school. Let's get their input into it. And so we may just do that. We may just give them some slates of which to work with and let them come up with some ideas on how to get that signage done.
The middle school looked like they had some pretty amazing artists, and they're going to be the high schoolers. So maybe, they're the group that comes up with the signage ideas.
I like the style of it. I mean, there's some things we got to, we already had our individual meetings. What was going to be brought up tonight, just to kind of to look at, but it keeps the traditional Camden County. It's not some crazy big city curved and designed, but it brings enough modern that we're not stuck 50 years ago either. I think it's a good blend and on the right track, at least my opinion.
I like it too.
That's two votes. Need three.
I'm fine with most of it. I hate flat roofs. I like for all the roofs to be metal if we can get the material and we can afford it. Be my only thing. And then the corridor, like Jason said, it'd be nice if we could just close that thing in and either have his roll up doors or the big glass doors like car dealerships have to drive in and out. I think it'd be more secure and
We're actually looking at that. There's a code issue that trips us into sprinklers and that sort of thing. And so, and firewalls that are very expensive. So we're looking at that, seeing what our options are.
Yeah. But there wouldn't be a code issue if it were a continuous building. Where does that code issue fall? I mean, I'm not.
So the
Help me out with that
cost
one.
of enclosing it means that we then have to sprinkler it. And we then have to increase the volume of the building that we're building, which may require another firewall because it's a math problem of if you have this much square foot, you have to put a firewall between this building and this building. And if we start increasing the second building and we get too far, we may need an additional firewall. It's, again, this is the weeds, but it does start, it kind of can tumble. So we've got to look at, where that goes and what that
Because
looks
you got a
like.
continuous building on the other side from entrance to gymnasium.
There's technically a firewall there.
Right, but
Yeah.
it's much, it's much smaller, and the problem with these open spaces is you cannot do firewalls there. You have to do very expensive fire doors and drop-down doors and that sort of thing. I mean, what Ashley just described is $500,000. And so again, we're trying to focus on, you know, an economy of scale and still be able to get a very functional building.
Sprinklered if it's not like completely closed in, like it's treated like a
Like if it's
breezeway with
conditioned
glass,
versus
maybe
non-conditioned?
yeah, non-conditioned, like the top half's open.
Well,
You have the security.
We have assembly areas that we look at. We have the distance, you know, a certain distance apart from building to building. All those are factors in the code. And until we really kind of do the code analysis on that, we can't answer those questions. Those are the things that we're doing right now in design development.
I don't think it needs to be completely enclosed. I mean, it can be, you know, halfway up, you know, just enough where it's secure, walking through, no one can get in or out without opening those big glass doors.
Well, the getting out is another part that we have to focus on, the egress for the building.
You would have the big doors or maybe and a little
Right.
door also. That's controlled access. But
We've heard what y'all are interested in, and I think there's a lot of merit in that, and so we're studying it. We're trying to figure out how we want to resolve that, so.
But neither one of us can promise anything until we can look at it, because we could snowball something into, you know, costs that we're not even aware of when we just say sure. So we definitely need to look at it.
So what she's trying to say is we might be the boss
Yeah.
of our respective companies.
Control these
But
things.
we got a whole bunch of folks back there saying, don't promise anything, because we might not be able to afford it.
well, I mean, that's all I'm saying. Is I'd like to, you know, if we vote going forward with this, I'd like to look at that. I'd like to look at getting, you know, maybe a glass, even if it's partially, only halfway up, you know, air open, just to have that more security for the breeze, like the breezeway partially closed in, or however we could do that. And then to look at, you know, possibly metal in all the roof if we could.
Yeah, that's gonna be, I can't promise that. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just, right now, I don't even know if I can get metal roofs. I mean, I've been in this business for a very long time, and this is the most disruptive I've seen the construction market since 1973. And that includes the late 70s when we were looking at 16, 17% interest and, you know, inflation. But right now it's what we can get, what's economical, and, you know, what works with the codes.
So theoretically, after your cost analysis, we might get a different proposal or?
Well, I think what we're showing you is brick. We're showing you some sort of metal panels. We don't know what kind of windows we're gonna use. Ashley's got some mullions, and those are nice looking windows. You know, we may find a window that's much more economical, more functional. You know, we're doing that analysis right now. We do know the big part about the codes. We've all built enough schools to understand how the codes work, and, you know, being able to separate buildings and that sort of thing. So it's those big things that we are trying to avoid tripping into, because, you know, frankly, if I can build your building $500,000 cheaper and it doesn't affect the learning environment one bit, that's what I would like to do. That's going to allow you to get some of the other amenities that you would like to have at school. And we may come back to you and say, you know, these metal panels that Ashley's showing you, we can't get. We might have to go with another material, and it might need to be a different shade of brick or something like that. I mean, we really are in tough times right now, and I keep emphasizing that, you know, budgets has been one of the things that we have been focused on since we started talking about a new high school for Camden County. And we'll probably be talking about it till we have the grand opening, the building dedication. But we're all gonna have a building dedication, and we are gonna have a grand opening, and it's gonna be a great school.
Do we actually need a motion to have them continue and tell them they're on the right direction. Yeah. Well, I'll make that motion. Sure. However you need to word it.
Okay. So Mr. Purcell is making a motion to continue on with the exterior elevation as presented. Seconded by Ms. Idlet. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So you're going down the right rabbit trail.
We'll keep working. Thank you very much,
Thank you,
folks.
guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Policy code 1610/7800, professional and staff development. Yolanda Anderson, Chief Human Resources.
In your board package, I provided for you policy code 1610-7800. Under section B, self-improvement, I highlighted the section that says Camden County Schools require one CEU in technology in lieu of one general CEU. And I'm asking tonight that that the board considers removing that from our policy. And looking at the NCDPI CEU requirements, K-5 teachers must have 3 subject CEUs, 3 literacy, and 2 digital CEUs. And at our 612 level, it's 3 subject, 3 general, and 2 digital. I did consult with our director of CTE/instructional facilitator today regarding my request, and her expertise, and also in what I was thinking with the digital learning credits that teachers are already charged with having. A lot of times the digital learning is incorporated within the technology. So sometimes when teachers are receiving PD in digital learning, it can also cross over into the technology. So it's kind of, if we have the digital, it satisfies the technology requirement that we currently have in policy. Another reason I wanted us to consider it, again, at the K-5 level, our K-5 teachers aren't expected to have general CEUs. They're only expected, again, to have the subject, the literacy, and the digital. So tonight, I just wanted to present to you this policy for consideration of removing the one CEU in technology in lieu of one general CEU. Are there any questions that I could answer? Thank you. Thank you.
My recommendation is that you table policy for review based on the information shared by Ms. Anderson.
Motion by Dr. Banks to accept the superintendent's recommendation to table policy 1610/780 for review until our next board meeting.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Heath. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Overton is standing in for her.
Ms. Overton is standing in for Ms. Lane.
For several years, Camden County Schools has been very satisfied with McGriff Insurance Services for providing our student accident and athletic insurance program. Each year, we review submissions sent to us from various companies, and McGriff has consistently been the company that offers the highest quality service. The plans are underwritten by Axis Insurance Company and administered by K&K Insurance Group. McGriff is endorsed by the North Carolina Athletic Directors Association and the North Carolina High School Athletic Association. Camden uses the voluntary insurance plan only. Forms are given to the students at the beginning of each school year, and parents can then enroll online. To our knowledge, the company has continued to provide outstanding service to our students and their parents. Any questions on that? You'll have to direct them to Ms. Lane.
Thank you for standing in. My recommendation is that you approve the student accident insurance coverage as shared by Ms. Overton.
Motion by Mr. Purcell to accept the superintendent's recommendation for acceptance of the Camden County School Student Accident Insurance Coverage as presented by Ms. Overton.
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Banks. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. CTE local application, Carol Irvington, Director of CTE and Instructional Technology.
The CTE local application system has been developed in compliance with Perkins 5, the Strengthening Career and Technical Education for the 21st Century Act. The local application serves as the district's planning document and application for CTE state and federal funding. It's also our compliance document, which meets all the requirements of Perkins. I wanted to share a couple of things with you tonight before I talk about what we'll highlight in our plan for the next coming school year. You should have had an infographic at your desk that talks about our current enrollment. This year we had 680 participants in grades 7 through 12. You'll see our enrollment by the program area. Agriculture education had the most with 236 students. Next was computer science and technology, trade and industrial, 145 in family, consumer and science, 109 in health science, 91 in business and finance, 26 in career development, and 83 in our CCP CTE, which will be our community college CTE courses. We had a total of 92 concentrators. That was a duplicated count in the 1920 school year, which made our four-year graduation cohort rate at 94.7%. We submitted 820 credentials during the 1920 school year, and that put us at 44%, which is above the state average for both. Those credentials, as I said last year, were done pre-COVID and some during COVID. And of course, this year they'll be a little bit lower because of COVID. We couldn't offer all of our credentials, particularly fire. We could not do those. So here's a few highlights from our department. The agriculture program, Mr. LeVar, Mizell already said that the Exploring Biotech placed first in the state. The high school had a 4th place team, 2 7th place teams, and a 9th place team in the state for their CTE career development events. They had 2 Northeast regional officers, an American FFA degree recipient, a state FFA degree recipient, and they taught 2 new courses, drone technology and a sustainable ag. And you'll see greenhouse, our hydroponic system, which the middle school just got a new hydroponic system this week. And they also extracted honey in agri-science. Business and finance and marketing, the middle school computer science discoveries and computer apps, both the popular programs there. Financial planning was a new high school course. The marketing course placed 9 interns in local businesses, and their DECA Club built leadership skills through their meetings. They're working on 3D models of sports entertainment facilities. Family consumer science, growing steadily. Our early childhood had 3 interns at Grandy. And on any given day, if you're hungry, come by. I think the foods department will feed you well. Health science, we had a new instructor who jumped in hands-on. Our mannequin was patiently waiting for the 6 months that school was shut down to come back. Still popular, and in the future, we're going to offer nursing fundamentals. Fire Academy, our first complete year. It is growing. They've got to play with some fire extinguishers and burn up some buildings, some little buildings they built. And public safety works on their FEMA certifications. Construction, we even zoomed in construction this year. They worked on their OSHA certifications. Our welding program is a very popular program. And then you'll see they still had time to build a building, and they're about halfway done with it in the back. So that was the year in CTE for 2021. And this is the second year of our 2-year plan, so we will continue to focus on the following areas for the upcoming school year, which will be academic proficiency in math. We'll have the department work with the math coaches to make connections between their curriculum and the core instruction to show students the applications of what they learn in core. We'll work on post-secondary credentials. Even though we're above the state average, this is a reporting factor not only to the federal government, but to the general legislation. And we would like to see an increase in the number of students who leave high school with a credential that will be beneficial to them in the workforce. And our third goal is to work on career planning and purposeful advising. One of the jobs is, as educators, is to help students connect high school pathways to career goals. We'll creation of career plans before entering high school and maintain throughout. In conjunction with our Business Advisory Council, we're going to host a CTE job fair. Of course, we'll have field trips and guest speakers and increase our work-based learning opportunities for the students to make sure they're aligned to their career goals. By approving this plan, we are assuring that the development of this application for state and federal aid for secondary career and technical education was coordinated by the Director of CTE. This plan and the programs, services, and activities offered are in accordance with state and federal guidelines. The information, data, and certifications are accurate to the best of our knowledge and belief. These assurance and certifications confirm that the LEA's capacity to carry out the state and federal legal requirements during the timeframe of this application. Any questions?
Our recommendation is that you approve the application as presented for the local application for CTE as presented by Ms. Overton.
Motion by Dr. Banks to accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve the CTE local application as presented by Ms. Overton.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Purcell. Is there further discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Summer work hours, Superintendent Farrell.
All right, so it's time to look towards summer once again. In addition to the information that Ms. Slasher shared with you about summer school and the fact that we will not be operating our summer school on Fridays for our 11 and 12-month employees. I'm requesting your approval to offer them the option of working 10-hour days Monday through Thursday. And not working on Fridays, or option B, working 9 hours a day, Monday through Thursday, and a half day on Fridays. Our maintenance staff, at their request, would continue to work Monday through Friday, regular 8-hour days. And that would begin on Friday, June 11th, and continue through Friday, July 30th. Usually that goes into the first week of August. But our early college teacher work days will be starting that week. And one of our commitments to them is that we not be on summer hours when they come back, so that they have access to all central office staff. So those are our summer hours, and I would ask that you approve those.
Motion by Mr. Idlet to approve the request of Dr. Farrell for summer work hours as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Banks. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. ABM contract.
All right, so this is our cleaning company contract, and we are coming to the end of the first year with them. I don't want to jinx anything, but I can't tell you how happy I am not to talk about the cleanliness of our buildings at every single teacher advisory council meeting and classified advisory council meeting. It's been a really beautiful year. We had a little bit of a bumpy start, but there's always an implementation dip, right? So they are doing great work with us. And one of the things that is in their contract, that was in their original contract to move us into from July 1, 2021 to June 30, 2022 is requires the board to approve the continuation of the contract, but also there is a 2% increase in the cost. And that was again in the original contract, and that takes us to a payment of $23,792.68 per month. That is about $466 per month more than we are paying currently. But again, that was in their original contract. And so I would request your approval to move forward with that.
Motion by Mr. Heath to accept the superintendent's presentation of ABM contract. Seconded by Mr. Purcell. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Board of Education meeting for end of year closeout amendments.
All right, every year, Sally Norfleet and her team need us to meet, the Board of Education, to meet to close out the year. And we are looking at a couple of dates. If they would work for you, I need you all to choose one. And if one of those do not work, then choose another. But we were looking at Monday, June 28th or Tuesday, June 29th.
Yeah, either one's fine for me, so yeah, it's fine.
Okay, June 29th. Great. So I would request that you all
Time.
approve that. We usually do that at 6, right? Sally, 6 o'clock? We will do that as early as you all are available to make it work.
Thanks.
I can go as early as
6?
June 29th at 6 PM at the central office.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Board of Education meeting calendar for
July 8th, which is fine with us, but we want to make sure that it's fine with you, or if you'd like for us to move that to a different week.
I'm not doing anything that week.
Okay. All right. Good deal.
Yeah.
Does DCSBA put out the annual?
They have,
just a week before the 18th.
That's what I thought. So it's gonna be the week of that holiday that we're trying to avoid.
Correct.
is that Veterans Day, right?
The 11th, yeah.
That is, the School Boards Association Conference is the week end of Veterans Day, yes.
Is there a motion to approve the 20?
Motion, sorry.
Mr. Purcell has made a motion to approve the 2021-22 Board of Education meeting calendar as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Heath. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We have a presentation for Donna H. Winborn, CPA, Sally Norfleet, Chief Finance Officer.
The Office of the State Auditor selected a sample of 60 local government employer participants to have their auditors make sure that their census data is correct. And Camden County Schools was one of the lucky 60 to be picked. So what has to be tested is anything in our retirement system that deals with orbit. So they look at eligibility to participate, to make sure that compensation is correctly reported, to check gender, birth date, make sure everything is correct between our records and orbit records. This audit can actually be done in August when Donna Winborn already is scheduled to come, but it does require a separate engagement letter. So I'm just requesting to have this separate audit done and to have the engagement letter sent in to the LGC.
Do they need to be aware of the fees that are associated with
It's
that?
$3,700 more. I say they should have to pay for it.
I was just gonna say-
I'm like, they should have to pay for it if they picked us to have it done.
I'm gonna guess probably not.
Yeah. That's what I told Leslie, when she was here last week doing our interim audit work. I'm like, they should pay for it if they're making us do it.
So, unfortunately, even with us paying for it, my recommendation is the approval of the services and estimated increased fees for the additional census data and payroll records as presented by Ms. Norfleet.
Motion by Ms. Abbott to accept the superintendent's recommendation for the proposed census data and payroll records
Second.
audit
Oh, yeah.
as will be provided by Donna H. Winborn CPA, seconded by Mr. Purcell. I know, it's getting those right. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan.
Superintendent's recommendations for closed session.
My recommendation is that you approve the personnel report as presented by Ms. Anderson in closed session.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Purcell to accept the superintendent's recommendation for employment of personnel as presented by Ms. Anderson in closed session. Seconded by Ms. Idler. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Also in your package was announcements for end of year events for all of our schools and short any revisions or updates. Dr. Farrell will forward those to us. Ask if there's anyone that has any other business, future agenda items. Lizzie, thank you for being our student school board member for the past 2 years. You've done a great job.
Yes, sir, thank
And
you.
good luck on your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
I don't know, I ain't making no more, I'm waiting on one of them. They wanna get out of here, they can make a motion.
Motion to adjourn?
So Mr. Heath has made a motion to adjourn and Dr. Banks has seconded it. And there's gonna be no discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you all for coming.